Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's iRacing video at Okayama International Raceway in Japan. We're about to get underway on our final quarter lap, formation lap.
P9. The air temp is 23 Celsius.
So we qualified in P9 with a low 1:30 time.
Follow car number 16 in the left lane.
With a car number of 4. Most of the guys further up were doing mid 29s, so I think it's going to be pretty hard to move up the field unless bar people making mistakes. Just want to double check I've unticked tyres. Yep. But yeah, we did the earlier race and we had a result of 5th, which was a great result for us considering we started P11. So hopefully this race can go well as well. Unfortunately, we got a bit unlucky due to some carnage on the first lap. However, hopefully this one here goes a little bit smoother for us.
Go!
Overtake on the forward into the first corner was very sedated. To the guys that do catch
left side
the video,
still there, clear left.
That caught the earlier video will know about the carnage I'm talking about. However, didn't even make it to the first corner and there was dramas left, right and center. So just before we get into it, guys, if you do enjoy the video content you're seeing at the moment on the channel, please consider giving it
Oliver, decent start and we can build something from here.
a like, subscribe, comment. Also feel free to check out the Twitter in the description down below. That'll help you keep up to date with when I'm rendering videos, when videos are being uploaded, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I'd really appreciate that.
Incident in Revolver. It looks like it's Ray.
So Revolver's that one up there. I'm still trying to learn all the corner names here. Easier said than done though. So decided to try something new in the earlier race, in qualifying for this race, I tried to go to a low downforce sprint setup, the baseline one that iRacing gives you with this car, as opposed to the moderate downforce sprint setup that I typically run in the race. And I ran it on a really low fuel strategy, so like less than, I think it was 10 litres actually to see, and it did help. Potentially if I do another race at Okayama, I might try running moderate levels of downforce.
Williams
Might try run moderate levels of downforce with a low fuel load, because low level downforce just feels a little bit...
There's an incident in Atwood Curve. You think it might be more?
Yeah, low just feels too skittish. Especially through the last sector, it feels like the back of the car, because you are changing directions on those S corners with a fair bit of pace on you. It does feel like, unfortunately, the car does want to snap away, and I can see that the traction control light blips at me, which whenever those lights blip at you, it does mean that you're losing time, unfortunately, because you're not getting all the power to the ground effectively. But yeah, the forward of Carlos is sticking with me pretty well. And we are also able to keep our nose relatively out of trouble, which is always a big bonus. As I've touched on in my 2 other Okayama videos.
The guy in front is Warburton.
Pretty lenient track.
Right side, clear right.
In terms of getting 1Xs or incident points for going off track.
Leader's just done a 129.48.
You really do need to be making a conscious effort to earn those incident points in order to get allocated one, or you need to be way offline or have the car a fair ways off where it probably should be. So yeah, race with Wayne in the last race. I do love this track though. It's really picturesque, it's really beautiful, it's real fast, it's real flowing. And it does really make for some really good racing here. So Carlos made a bit of a mistake somewhere because he has dropped off the back of us a touch. And he is caught up in battling now with Wayne. I'm not sure what happened. Either got a slow down or made a mistake or something, found neutral or something along the lines of that, because they really have... I was able to pretty well get past Wayne without even trying. He pulled off completely to the left. So, yeah.
Well done, Oliver. You're looking really good. Come on, keep your focus. P4.
Carlos has closed back up onto the... closed up onto the back of me.
Defend your position. They're faster than us into last corner.
So one thing iRace tries to do is create a balance of performance so that all cars are competitive, or not even competitive. You can somewhat be successful in any car you so choose. One of the other big factors is as you progress up through the licensing system, you have the ability to tune and fine-tune to a very detailed extent certain attribute of your car, how sensitive traction control is, ABS is, different downforce options, and that may make your car faster down a straight. Like this Ford is behind, is quite a rapid car. However, through the corners isn't as settled, and it does take a very delicate, gentle hand. You have to know when to get on the power in order to be successful. And the Lamborghini, although still a very fast car, all these cars are fast. More focused on those long sweeping corners, and able to hold really good corner speed.
Robert, 129.31. You're pulling away from the guy behind. The gap's now 1.3 seconds.
But through
2/10 off the pace in sector 1. Sector 2 is 0.5 off the pace.
Quick
sector
change
3 is 0.8 off the pace.
Quick change corners, it isn't as desirable, and you get certain cars, for example, like the BMW in this series, that is pretty well good at most things.
Okay, Oliver, the next car is Warburton.
And like, for example, the Porsche, which is due to be released the start of next season, so season 3.
Our refueling window opens after 28 minutes. Closes
Really
after 34
rapid
minutes.
Through the corners, however, not as good through, not good in a straight line. So very, very slow car through the straight line. It's considerably slower on acceleration. It's considerably slower through the corners. It just doesn't... Speed isn't its strong point. So on a fast track, you might be more inclined to drive the Ferrari, the Merc AMG, even the Ford. And through more faster technical corners, you might be more inclined to drive the Porsche, drive the Lambo, drive the BMW. So next week at Monza, you will most likely see a lot of Ferraris get driven, as it is one of the fastest tracks that you'll ever go to. Or even at the Nürburgring. Even the Mercs are quite popular at the Nürburgring because they do have that straight line speed, but they also have really good cornering ability.
That was a 131.23.
And the reason why I ended up in the Lamborghini, and I'm not really in a position to purchase every single car within the category, and also because I do want to focus on getting somewhat quick and competent in one model before moving into the next. Because certain
Williams.
Certain iRacing special events will limit you to certain cars based on their balance of performance. However, the reason why I do like Lamborghini, I heard it was one of the, not the easiest cars, has a pretty high skill entry level to get into, so it does take a while to wrap your head around. However, when you do, it's a very rewarding car to drive, and I completely agree. Like, you get something ever so slightly wrong and it costs you 4 or 5 tenths of a second a corner. However, when you hook up a lap, it does feel real good. Right, really nice planted car.
They're quicker than us entering Atwood Curve.
So we've got Wayne here catching back up to me now in the Merc. I think he's got a Repsol livery on that one there. And he seems pretty keen to get back past me. And And if he can do so in a manner that doesn't affect me too badly, I'm happy to let him back through, but I'm going to race him hard
That's
for
your
it.
fastest lap for Robert, 129.26.
So the guys ahead are doing mid to high 29s, and I'm probably still in the mid 30s. Yeah, mid to high 30s. So putting on attack on the guy.
Fastest lap for Devantier, 129.03.
Isn't something that's going to be super doable right now. Will Wayne's made a massive mistake and he's off.
There's an incident in Moss S. It looks like Richardson.
Luckily, Philip Scott and Kevin got through pretty easily, which is good. Sometimes when those accidents do happen, they can
Warburton. Ahead is now 5.6 seconds.
inadvertently take you out of the race. In the last video, I actually saw the early stop actually pay dividends, and I think his name was Alexander, I can't exactly remember, and he was able to pit super early, and came out 3 or 4 seconds behind. So after I had done my pit stop, he caught up all the way back to only 3 or 4 seconds behind me, and because he already had completely up to temperature tires, was able to just scream straight past me. Because when you are stagnated in the pits, you do lose a little bit of temperature and tire pressure in your tires. So that is the trade-off with stopping early. You get yourself out of trouble, you get yourself hopefully out of too much hard racing, and like just focus on punching in quality laps.
We think P6 has gone off in Williams.
Not really conducive for super exciting racing. However, you have an exciting start because you're pushing as hard as you can in those first 6 to 7 laps / minutes. On this track, it would be laps, and then you're pushing as hard. Like, it's go to woe for the driver. Don't get me wrong. However, if you just sit on an empty track for 40 minutes, from a viewer's spectacle, that potentially was more of a casual viewer or casual person interested in sim racing, might find it a tad boring. It's like, oh, it's just some guy going around a track on his own. However, that being said, in sim racing, you can always account on accidents happening. So the trade-off of running like an undercut kind of strategy is you can very easily get caught with back markers. Or here on a track like this, you can also be lapped by the lead pack. Being only a minute 29, minute 30 kind of lap, it doesn't take very many mistakes for the people ahead of you to catch back up and put a move on. And then once you're a blue flag, it is a pretty...
Okay, Oliver, that's good consistency. Keep it up.
It's a pretty difficult thing to kind of fall out of. You kind of just need to run with it until everyone has run their stops, and then you're able to unlap yourself. However, it can be a little bit demoralizing and can affect your lap times if you do get that blue flag waved at you, and which pretty much just means you have to let the cars ahead of you past, because you're a lap down. You're effectively out of this race. I'm going defensive with Phil.
Just ignore him, he'll go away.
I bloody doubt it.
Left side. Still there. Clear left.
Went too deep and got out on the dirty stuff out there. And as I touched on in the last video, making your intentions known is quite important to ensure clean, hard racing. So
Scott behind is now 0.8.
the characteristics of Okayama pretty much commands momentum. You want to do a good overtake on someone, you're going to have to set the overtake up 3 or 4 corners before, carry a lot of momentum, a lot of speed, and then you just glide straight past them on the small straights with the braking zones on them, because unfortunately there aren't very many corners at this track which allow for massive braking zones where you can outbrake your car ahead. It's a lot of it's trail braking and easing your way into a corner and having a smooth, strong exit. But if like Phil did, made his intentions very clear that he had momentum on me coming out of the sweeping right-hander into the straight to the hairpin. I made my intentions quite clear the entire straight, and once I committed to that move, I didn't move. So in the braking zone, I didn't move. I did my best to hug that inside, which the shallow line is always going to be the slowest way around a corner.
The next car is Warburton.
It is always the slowest way around a corner. However, if I can make my intentions quite clear from the beginning of what I'm hoping to do, it means that he has to go the long way around. And that being said, if he does, or whoever you're racing, in this situation I'm racing Phil in the Audi, if he's able to read my move, go to the left, get the car all the way around the outside, not just to that corner of any corner, he deserves the spot. And that's just what good, clean, hard racing is. And it might take him 3 or 4 maneuvers. He might notice that coming through the hairpin, I might outbrake myself 1 or 2 times, and he might be able to account for that, brake super, super early, cut back underneath me, as you've seen me do once or twice at this track, as well as at Phillip Island, and come straight back past me. Might hang himself out to dry, pretty much turn on a dime, and then turn straight back underneath me, and that's it. He's then made that move stick. But it just really is reading the situation, not doing anything silly, because right now, if I were to ruin my race by defending stupidly, chances are I'm not going to 5th. Chances I'm going to 18th, 19th, taking a massive hit to my license, as opposed to, he feels faster than me. He's probably going to get past me. Just living with that and settling with a 5th. Chances are someone up might make a mistake ahead. Admittedly, when you're in position 4, not as common. Not as common, because these guys have typically set the quickest qualifying pace. They know how to be quick and how to be safe races. But you never know. But if I pull back to 5th, it's better than falling back to 20th and taking a massive safety rating and I rating hit. And it will take 6 or 7 races to come back from one stupid mistake, effectively. And although this is a game, it's a simulator, you crash your car, you just click the button and you exit car and you reset and you go again. If it does get treated a little bit more like a simulator and to simulate real life GTE, GT3, Formula Racing, that's how it should be, in my opinion, because people do commit, like, people make their livelihoods doing this, and especially with COVID, manufacturers and racing teams, like in real life racing teams like the Williams Formula 1 racing team, have actually invested a lot of money into esports teams. So
okay, Oliver,
for some people
no mistakes,
at the upper echelons of this sport, use this as a means to an end and a way to pay bills and all that kind of thing, and it starts at the bottom and works your way up, works its way up through different channels to improve and fix the problem.
Car left. Clear left.
So I'm going to just not critically analyze, but analyze what's going on. So Bill, for the last five laps, maybe 3 or 4 laps minimum, at least 3 or 4, but for the last 3 or 4 laps has been trying to make that move stick down there at the hairpin, but it's quite clearly not working. So you do have a few options. He's got an 8-second gap to the car behind, Carlos. He could jump in the pits, do a really early stop, because battling with someone inherently costs you a lot of time. That is typically why you will see in any professional aspect of racing.
You've just done a 130.77.
Or should I ever be lucky enough to get a race where I lead, like put it on pole, you'll probably notice that even though my lap time may not be necessarily leagues better than everyone else, you will inherently be faster because you're not worried about defending. You're not having to worry about what everyone else is doing. You just focus on your race. You don't have to compromise line. You don't have to compromise anything. You just run your thing top to bottom as if you've got an empty track, more or less. So if I was Phillip, I would potentially consider jumping in the pits. Okayama's pretty good because you can jump in after the 6 lap or 6 minute mark and you can get all the way to the end with just a very small stop. It's pretty good for that kind of thing. Other option is potentially just sit back in my weight, save a bit of fuel, jump me in the pit stop. So especially here where this is a very lift and coast kind of circuit with not too many big braking zones as well as acceleration zones, he could potentially just happily sit and coast behind me for 20 minutes, another 15 minutes, sorry, and then jump me in the pits when he has to fuel up less. The third option is try a different overtaking maneuver. So if the hairpin is really not doing it, and because I'm pretty good on the brakes in the Lambo, like Lambo is known for having very good braking.
That last lap was a 130.46.
What he might be better off doing is setting up the move.
That's 20 minutes to go. Okay, Oliver, half distance.
Setting up the move
14 minutes of fuel left.
at a different position. Potentially, because you'd have to set up a move here into this right-hander pretty well at corner 2, because there isn't really any big braking zones after corner 2. Like, that's it, and then you're pretty much a straight shot there with a few S's. Could try setting the move up for there. If it's not working here, you could try set yourself up to have a really good clean exit and do it at the left-hander straight after it. Or you could do your best to get do your best to get a stronger exit as you possibly can out of here, because this is the next biggest set of braking zone on the track, which the quickest way to go around this corner is to cut out as wide as you possibly can and then clip the apex and get straight back out as wide of the corner as possible, as it is with any real corner, and he could potentially do that. Or he could do his best to not go deep into that last corner and have a really quick, smooth transition with the slipstream assistance and get me here into turn 1.
Don't be pressured. Keep your exit speeds up. Sector 1 is 0.6.
So I actually think that's what he's starting to do now. I just watched him in my rearview mirror. He went as far left as he possibly could to make that corner as much of a straight shot as he could to carry as much speed, and he's already closer than he has been pretty well for the last 2 or 3 laps at 0.3 of a second.
Clear left.
Did hear the ever so slightest ting of him making contact with the back of me, whether he did turn out to the left there to avoid the incident. However, that was very slow on my part because I went too deep. I was too busy focused on what happened at that last corner.
All right, Oliver, the next car is Warburton.
However, that also is a testament to Phil as a racer. If you've made a mistake and you've gone way too deep into a corner and you do accidentally tap someone and you continue, don't just take that as an invite, be like, oh, well, I didn't spin him, I'm just going to keep racing that hard. If you've made a genuine mistake, endeavour to not make that mistake again. You know what situation you were just in and what factors
On your right.
caused you to make that mistake. So endeavour not to make that mistake again, because you might get lucky and do it once and never have it happen again, but you might do it a second time and end one person's race.
That lap was a 131.38.
Both. Joe and Thomas are pretty well in a heated battle for first and second, and that's why you can notice that they're not streaking away. Sure, 18 seconds is a massive, massive deficit to make up over the course of a race. Like, they've pretty well got that in the bag. But had they not been battling, you bet your bottom dollar leader would be 30, 40 seconds ahead, and second place car would be probably 20, 25 seconds ahead. But because they are engaged in battles defending, similar to what Phil and myself are doing, because the gaps are quite similar.
All right, Oliver, you've got 10 minutes of fuel remaining.
There you go. Thomas has just made the decision, I can't be bothered dealing with this. I'm going to pit, get into some clean air. I'm sure he's thought ahead and timed his pit stop in a way to where he can get out in somewhat clear air, like, and not be too affected.
P3.
And what you should see as well is, as he comes up to other cars, you obviously don't want to let him through because it's not kind of a blue flag scenario, but you're obviously not racing against someone who's already pitted and is back up on the back of you because you still have to pit. You're effectively 30 to 40 seconds or whatever the average pit stop time is at any given track behind that person. So it would be in your best interest on a straight or in a corner where you mitigate time lost. It would be in your best interest to just let them on through and potentially even
15 minutes left. That's 15 minutes.
Slipstream of them on the straights and stay with them, so you could potentially save a little bit of fuel and almost overcut a car ahead of you. And that's just why in top level sports like Formula 1, MotoGP, you'll see people saying switching to different fuel maps, strategists telling them, oh yeah, just sit behind him for now, like this is exactly what we want, because you're able to minimize time spent stationary in a pit stop situation.
Warburton in front is pitting.
So these guys are going with a mid-20s pit stop. Be curious to see how that one works out. Hopefully I don't get caught up in too much mid-pack issues.
P2.
And I actually have a sneaking suspicion that Phil is going to try to jump me in the pit stop because he's kind of just remaining at that 0.3 to 0.5 tenths of a second. He's not really actively trying all that hard to dive bomb me or get too far up the inside of me. He does have a bit of a run on me here, so I am just going to cover that option.
On your left. Clear left.
And I think the way that Phil's going about it is the smartest way to go about it. If I give him an opportunity to get past me in a clean, safe manner without hindering mine or his time, take it. But if he doesn't, just sit behind him and make the move stick in an area where there's literally nothing I can do, like a pit stop, for example. One of the other big contributing factors is the mental impact it has of having someone directly behind you. Like, I know that everything he does, I have to do 5-10% better or 5-10% crisper to make sure I don't make a silly mistake. And I'm constantly, instead of being 100% committed to what's going on in front of me, I have to be glancing up to say, oh, is this person about to go for a move? Is he about to lunge? Do I have to take evasive action to avoid a mistake he may make? Whereas Phil, if you look on the relative in the bottom right hand, has Yuki, which is a back marker, and I think it's Carlos behind Yuki.
On your left.
And
Hold your line.
he literally does not have to look at the back of his in his rearview
Hold
mirror.
your line. Clear left.
So he can 100% focus on my back bumper and focus on me, and that's it. Whereas I have to focus on what's going on ahead of me. Secondly, focus on what's going on behind me.
The track temperature's rising. It's now 27 Celsius.
And you see, that's, as I was explaining all that to you, I was focused a little bit more on what was going on in my peripherals as opposed to what was going on the track. And before we'd even reached that straight, he was pretty well able to set me up. And if I was in potentially a car that had a little bit more drag, a little bit more downforce, probably would have had me well before we got to that hairpin. So we're about 3 laps away from our pit stop.
Sector 2 is 0.7 off the pace. Okay, Oliver, we estimate you've got 5 minutes of fuel remaining.
Yeah, so I'll probably have to pin in around 33.5 minutes to 34.5 minutes. Pretty well standard with what I have been in the last few races. I think the Audi also allows you to go slightly deeper and carry that little bit more speed through that sweeping right-hander and allow for a better run onto this back straight, as opposed to me trying to hug and one of the other things I have to commend Philip on is not every corner is an overtaking opportunity. And to be able to identify, be like, hey, there pretty well is only one way to get around this corner.
10 minutes to go.
And to be able to say, hold on, there's definitely not a chance of me fitting 2 very wide race cars through here. To turn around and say, I'm just going to sit behind and bide my time and tread water.
Looks like P6 has gone off in Hobbs.
Oh, I think P6 was the guy in P3 prior to pit stops. So
Come on, don't make it easy for him. Make him go the long way around.
yeah, so to be able to have that racecraft and race awareness and say, yeah, this is definitely not a chance of overtaking or a safe way of overtaking, is also good, because it keeps both people in the race. And we have effectively played ourselves into this podium position. The third, it realistically would be third. Yeah, we have played ourselves into a podium position if we continue to go like this. He's not affecting me too much. I'm not affecting him too much. I'd say the big time loss for us over the course of a lap is that hairpin, because it seems to be the only position that he wants to go for a move, more or less. Which I can understand. It's the biggest braking zone on the track. You're coming in at the highest speed.
P2.
And there isn't really an opportunity to come back at that next left-hander, because although it is an acute, almost, I think it's bigger than 90-degree corner, it's not really a braking zone corner because you're not going fast enough. It's more just a tap on the brake just to help with the direction change of the car. And that's it. So Phil's jumped into the pits now. So I'm going to be in this lap, so it'll be interesting.
Scott behind is increasing. It's now 4.8. Scott behind is pitting now. You've just done it on 30.48. Okay, Oliver, we're running on fumes, mate. Come into the pits at the end of this lap. Box this lap.
So he's attempting to undercut me. So if he comes out, he's hoping to come out.
Robert in. The gap is 19 seconds.
Robert must have made a little bit of an error at the hairpin. So yeah, realistically, he's hoping to come out and clear air, set a really quick out lap and jump me, whereas I'm hoping to set a really quick in lap and maintain the gap that we have, which I'm already doing a pretty well average job of doing. Fortunately, as I see that little traction control light flickering away at me.
Two litres left.
Yeah, I know.
The leader, Robert, is pitting.
I'm going to dive into the pit now.
Pit lane speed limit is 60 kilometers per hour. Okay, Oliver.
15 litres.
To the end of the race.
So I've got 30 odd seconds to fill.
traffic behind. P3.
Alright, so my in lap was approximately
The guy in front is Warburton.
2 seconds quicker than Phil. So he either had a really slow entrance to the pit lane, which I can completely understand because the pit lane entrance there is very deceptive. You think those first set of cones is where you need to be on pit limiter by, but it's actually the second set where it physically shows you the speed. Another big thing, he may have slightly overfilled the car, may have had windshield tear off still activated on the car, which does cost you time. What are the other things that could have done it? He could have gotten caught up with a blue flag on a really bad part on the track for him, which could have cost him time. One of the other big trade-offs though is Philip has tyres that are already up to temperature, and he's already adjusted his driving style to account for the updated fuel load. When you've raced with a car for 30
5
minutes
to go. This is good. We'll be on the podium if we can keep it together.
the difference in weight from the fuel tank is very progressive, as opposed to a pit stop where you go in running pretty much on fumes, as my spotter always tells me, to running a load of fuel, which can result in different braking characteristics, different handling characteristics, different weight characteristics, which it does take a little bit of time to get up to speed.
Just done a 129.29.
So he's punching in some very quick lap times. One of the other big factors is he's had one lap to get his tyres completely back up to temperature, whereas I've only just done that now. So it's kind of half a dozen of one, 6 of another when it comes to fuel strategies.
All right, Oliver, hold your nerve. Just keep it smooth. No mistakes.
He did very much so have a lot more speed through that hairpin than me, and definitely helped me get through it, which was very thoughtful of him. Thank you. And the only thing I can hope for is, as we approach the last few laps here at Okayama, that Phil doesn't just start sending moves up the inside, hoping to be like, oh yeah, Oliver will get out of the way because he wants that final place at the podium. I do as well, but I want to get there without any incident points. I actually think this might be...
Car left, clear left.
Lap times are pretty consistent.
have been the whole race, bud. I can't go any quicker.
On your left. Hold your line. Still there.
Oh, wow. If he can make...
Hold your line. Hold your line. Hold your line. Hold your line. Clear left.
That was some great racing. I just had a glance down quickly at the time in the bottom right hand of my relative, and I have a sneaking suspicion that this might be the second last lap.
Remaining 5 minutes.
Second last lap of the race, sorry.
That's 2 minutes left. 2 minutes.
Oh, he's going to have a good run onto here. Very good run. He set himself up. He went super, super wide. Oh, no, we still got 2 laps.
On your left. Clear left.
Unfortunately, going the long way around is not... you can sometimes get pinched, as you saw as we came around this right-hander on the last lap. Not that I forced him wide. I inherently want to get to the furthest point in the track to maximize the amount of time I'm on throttle and minimize the amount of time I'm coasting or on the brakes. So there is a chance that you can get pinched, which does suck because unfortunately it is kind of out of the control of both cars. Some tracks just inherently promote pinching when you are around the outside.
There's an incident in Hobbs. Yellow flag, caution.
I genuinely think I might need a shower after this race because I am sweating. Carlos, who was behind.
Left side. Hold your line, clear left.
Okay, Oliver, one more to go. Keep it together, we'll be on the podium.
Car right. Clear right.
That lap time was 1:31.81. Incident in Williams. It looks like Scott.
That does suck. I think he may have locked it up or just lost the back of the car because I didn't get any notification of him hitting me on my screen. But he must have lost a fair bit of time there. He's dropped down to 6th. But again, I very much so like to thank Phil for that. Was honestly a very good race. And unfortunately, that left-hander there is a one-line kind of corner. You can't really be running 2 lines through it, only because you can't really be running 2 lines through there just due to the nature of it, the camber and the speed you're carrying. It does unsettle the car. But as we get around this penultimate corner, this is 2 podiums in 2 consecutive weeks. I am extremely happy with that result, and 0x as well, which is honestly amazing. I'm super stoked with that one there. That's a great result.
There's an incident in Williams. We think it might be Warburton. So we're on the podium. Good drive.
That was a great drive coming back from however far up the grid we were. So what we're going to do here, guys, we're just going to park it up on this back straight now in just a moment. We're going to get into the results, but honestly, I really do want to thank, if he does ever see this, thank you very much, Phil, for an awesome race. And I can physically feel myself pooling with sweat on my forehead. I'm not sure if it's showing in the video, but yeah, this one was hard from go to woe. It was pretty well. Let's just defend for 40 minutes. So guys, what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly get into the results and we will go from there. So 4 splits in this one. Strength of field 945. I kind of did expect that with such a high car number. Had 2 lead changes. Had a safety rating increase of 0.25. As I've touched on in the past, Okayama is not a very incident point high kind of track. You can kind of get away with a fair bit. So that's why if you do have a perfectly clean race, it's like, yeah, cool, get over it, move on. However, one of the big improvements, I rating change, positive 63. So we're over that 1.2k, sorry, which is great. Philip was able to recover back to 5th, so we only lost net 1 position, which is great. And 2 incident points, so that's good. We had 0, the guys out in front. As I said, you just have a much cleaner race when you do start high. So Thomas, John Warburton, and then myself, 3 Aussies. So it was an Australian lockout in terms of the podium. And then we had Nathan, Phil, and Kevin. Philip, I just want to say, mate, a really good racing. I thoroughly enjoyed that. If you do ever catch this video, mate, I loved racing with you, and anytime I'd love to do it again. So guys, that's pretty well going to do it for today's video. We're going to wrap it up here, and hopefully we catch you in the next one. Bye.